Hello and welcome to my presentation on social issues in education. I'm Karina Rennett, and the three issues that I will be covering are social class and inequality, cultural difference and identity, and gender, and just how relevant they are today as a teacher in the classroom. Firstly, social class and inequality and how this really affects our students in the school and just how well they can expect to do in school and beyond. Social class really sets us up. It's amazing how much so. Okay, firstly, Bourdieu's theory on social class. We have social capital, cultural capital, and economic capital. Okay, social capital, is our resources, our social membership, our networks, relationships with all the people that we have relationships, and how these affect our structure in society, how we may be able to use them to get ahead, and just how we can use them to get ahead in our lives. They may connect us to jobs, as we have all seen in the past. Excuse me, sorry. Now, cultural capital are our forms of knowledge, skills, our disposition, and our social taste. Makes us really aware of different cultures, how we can use them to really get ahead in the world. It's really fantastic to be able to understand different cultures, how they work, and see that. Now, economic capital, I'm pretty sure we all have a good idea about that. Now, social class, our socioeconomic status really is hugely relevant in particular to education and how well we will actually do through our school life. We've always had different ages that you've been able to finish school. Currently it's at 17, which is really actually a very good thing, I think. It used to be at 13 for a very long time, but when it was at 13, there are a lot more jobs for younger people than there are today, as I will be covering further down the track in this presentation. We will come into that. Technical courses versus professional courses. Again, the technical things like your trades and stuff like that, they were a lot more abundant many years ago. They have become less so, and we are, I guess, tailoring our culture to be more professional without having the trades there. So, yes. Now, Australian schools really have a very narrow socioeconomic mix at each school. This is mainly due to geography. Various socioeconomic, similar socioeconomic statuses live in similar areas. As well, another factor is also our large number of government schools in Australia has a similar effect. We have our private schools, which are seen as more privileged, and the public ones, which are seen as disadvantaged to students. One thing which reflects this are recent NAPLAN results. Now, 2 students in Year 3, one being from a private school, one being from a public school, who had very similar high NAPLAN results in Year 3, by the time they got to Year 9, the person in the public school was 2.5 years behind that of the student in the private school. 2.5 years. It's a huge gap in our socioeconomic statuses between our schools. It's a really huge factor, and one we can hopefully start to address. Other countries have managed to address this. Australia is still struggling, but hopefully we can change that in the years ahead, learn from these other countries and use what they're using to initiate change. Although our Indigenous population has been seen to have a huge effect on this, we've got quite a tail effect there, which hopefully that will be, we can do something and get them back up to speed a little bit, or yeah, hopefully we can change that. Okay, now cultural difference and identity. Historically, we've always made our immigrants conform to our educational system and leave their culture behind. This is slowly changing, and multiculturalism is taking a bit more effect in our classroom, which is fantastic. We need to be celebrating the multiculturalism in Australia. we have a fantastic multicultural country, and it's just fantastic. We need to celebrate it, not put down these differences and, you know, be ashamed of it. It's something to celebrate, not be ashamed of. As you can see, Melbourne and Sydney have 25% of their population speak a language other than English, which is a huge population. We've had attempts at bringing language policies into the classroom, which have often failed. We're still doing it and still pushing ahead with it, and hopefully these will be successful down the track, because we need to keep making it a priority. It's seen that it's not important where it is. It is important. It's a very, very important thing in the classroom. Now, Australian universities are heavily dependent on international students, mainly Asian students. International students are one of the main ways that our universities are funded, as they pay up front, and they heavily target through Asia, as in Asia our education system is seen to be one at the forefront, which is fantastic. So yeah, our universities heavily target over there, and we have a lot of Asian students over here, yet the languages are still not being studied. It's still very patchy, as you can see on the slide. People studying in Indonesian as a language in Year 12 fell 40% from 2005 to 2009. It's a very big gap. Also similar with Japanese, Chinese and Korean languages. They also dropped very similar rates. So you can just see how this is affecting it. Yeah, on to Muslim schools. We have 30 faith-based schools in Australia with over 21,000 enrolments. It's still only a minor number compared to the rest of the country, but it's just showing that these cultures are making their own schools and being accepted. It's still government funded. The curriculum is still run by the government. The only difference is their religious studies. They're able to study Muslim as they want to, and it's not seen as something to be ashamed of, or that they should be fitting into our culture. They're allowed to celebrate their own culture, which is fantastic. Okay, now one problem with the literacy levels of young Islamic males in 2005 was they were well below average. Now this was only in a certain section of Sydney, in Bankstown and Lakemba, that they were actually below average. And it just creates a problem with young males, denying them access to job opportunities. They're not getting ahead, they're getting angry, can cause a lot of disturbances and lead to violence and those sorts of things, which we really don't want to see happen. Yeah, we'd all like to see everyone get ahead. But as I said, it was only a small section of Sydney, only 2 suburbs. The rest of Sydney was fine and literacy levels were up. So it's good to see that it's only a small section. Hopefully we might be able to get those couple of suburbs, or hopefully they're already up by now. Languages other than English are emphasised in school, and they need to be. We need to be emphasising these languages so that future generations are effective in dealing with other cultures. If we continue to just expect that, you know, the old everyone speaks English, it's fine, our future generations aren't going to be effective with dealing with other cultures throughout the world. It needs to be addressed. So yeah, we continue on with that now. Also, discrimination policies in school, very important, that people aren't discriminating against different cultures, like your Muslims, your Islamics, all those sorts of things, that they seem to be accepted and celebrated in society. Humanity and social sciences subjects in schools are also becoming more culturally inclusive, which is really great. It's great to see them going ahead. Now, moving on to gender. Now, in gender, one of the main issues are leadership roles with females. Our female teachers make up 80% of primary teachers, while men are 43% secondary teachers, with women being 57%. So it's a little bit more even in the secondary schools, less so in the primary schools. Now, 60% of primary principals in government schools were female, with 80% being female teachers. So this is quite a big difference, with only 20% of primary teachers being male. 40% of principals are male. This has to do with the cultural thing of the male principal, that they are seen to be more of a stronger role model. Students will be disciplined a lot more. They will come out being a lot more disciplined and pay attention. Then they will succeed a lot more in life. Yeah, look, maybe true. I don't think there's a lot of basis to that. Now, another thing that's happening with this huge population of female teachers is there's a lot of talk of negative effects due to the lack of male role models in the schools. Look, again, there's no data to support this at all. Female teachers have always been a higher rate than male teachers in schools. It's nothing new, yet they're starting to say that, you know, there's too many female teachers, we need more male teachers there, you know, to even out the role models, that sort of thing. Okay, well, in the 70s, boys outnumbered girls 2-to-1 in universities. In the boys were always doing the traditional subjects, physics, computer science, trades. Always those sorts of things. Females, it was seen as a male world, not female. The females weren't to do these subjects, they were to do home economics and those sorts of subjects. It is changing. More females are going into that side of things. Males always dominated medicine and law enrolments, whereas this is changing as well. It's really good to see that it's starting to even out. Girls are now more successful than boys in tests, completion of school and admission to universities. So these figures are obviously changing around, which is fantastic and becoming more even. Now, NAPLAN results between boys and girls. There were small gaps, but nothing major. The main thing was socioeconomic status, not gender, with the NAPLAN results, which is, again, it really brings back the socioeconomic status and how well you will do. It's not going to lead your life, but you can change things, and we need to be really aware of that fact. Until 76, retention rates of boys were higher than girls. This changed largely due to changes in the labour market. Half of the full-time jobs for boys disappeared and 2/3 of full-time jobs for girls disappeared. These are huge rates, and this is why more students are staying in school, because the jobs just aren't there for our young adolescents. The high school completion rate remains at 70 and has done so since 1991, with the age being 17 that they're allowed to leave school. Students stay there because if they don't finish year 12, they don't have much chance of getting a good job and doing well out of school. It really needs to be focused on. And that's gender. Now, as teachers, what we can do, we can focus our teachings on our intellectual quality and making all the students aware, treating them the same, no differences, they're all the same. Our connectedness of knowledge, and have a more supportive classroom environment. Make everyone inclusive, support the different cultures, the genders, everything. It's to be celebrated, not to be shamed. Working with and valuing our social difference. Again, celebrate the differences. Don't shame them. Okay, and that's it for my presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been eye-opening in some ways. Thank you for joining me. Goodbye.